Welcome to Close the Gap, where we thoughtfully engage with CEOs and top industry leaders all working to close the female equity gap in the C-suite and boardroom. Christine Gannon, the CEO of Brightworks Consulting, and Dr. Antoinette Farmer-Thompson, a senior leader with Arizona State University, host insightful conversations responsible for moving the needle for female participation in the C-suite.
Good morning and welcome to another episode, if you will, of Close the Gap. We're really excited to be here this morning with Lindsay Moellenberndt. She is the Chief Business Development and Marketing Officer at Fennemore, an NLJ National Law Journal 250 law firm. And they focus on helping businesses thrive. And she is also founder of A-Z Biz Link, which you will hear more about, an organization that inspires and empowers company leaders to continuously improve operations by challenging the status quo. And that's what we like to do. She's a woman who wears many fashionable hats. Of course, when you wear hats, they must be fashionable, Lindsay. She's a community connector, speaker, podcast host, coach, event producer, book publisher, team builder, culture creator, strategist, and philanthropist. She's the epitome of the phrase, if you want to get something done, give it to a busy person. This born connector views her career as a lifestyle, which is very incredible. And she strives to support others whenever possible, which currently includes AZ Talent Coop Board of Directors, or maybe it's a co-op, St. Vincent de Paul, Luke Air Force Base Fighter Country Partnership Blue Blazer, lifetime member, Valley of the Sun United Way, Women United, and Greater Phoenix Chamber Valley Young Professionals Board. Lindsay was also nominated as a 2020 Greater Phoenix Chamber ATHENA Awards Young Professional, and she was awarded the 2020 AZCrew Arizona Commercial Real Estate Woman Icon Award, and was the 2020 TEDx Scottsdale Women event emcee. Well, the first question is there anything that she cannot do? And I'm going to go ahead and answer that, Christine, as I kick it over to you. Absolutely not. She can do anything. And it's phenomenal to see that in such a wonderfully talented young woman. Christine, over to you.
Lindsay, welcome. We're so glad to have you. So talk to us a little bit about A-Z Biz Link. I would love for our audience to know about your organization and what you've done with that, how it started, and how people can connect.
Well, first, thanks again for having me. Really excited to be here. And thanks for allowing me the platform to share a little bit more about our organization. So A-Z Biz Link is my passion project. That's been my way to give back to the business community. And it's been a lot of fun. So I launched this back in 2017, initially focused on workforce conversations. How can we continually build better office environments to attract and retain top talent? I had the opportunity to meet a number of businesses while working for the Greater Phoenix Economic Council and thought I had some great connections that could really help so many more people. So we started hosting just a couple of events. And then we thought, we'll be done after a few, but the business community was hungry for that. And so we continued to listen to the needs of the business community. And now we're offering, about 75 events on an annual basis focused on workforce, leadership, corporate social responsibility, well-being, awesome women in business, you name it. And we're very excited that in 2021, we'll be launching our diversity, equity, and inclusion initiative. So much more good stuff to come. Very excited about that.
Lindsay, give us an idea of your background. I heard that you worked for GPAC, but tell us how you grew up in corporate America, and you can start with maybe where you went to school.
Yeah, absolutely. So I went to Arizona State University, go Devils. So that's where I graduated from. Initially went to school for architecture, but it was the middle of the recession at that point in time, and not many people were hiring architects. So transitioned at that point. That was my first opportunity to pivot. And so I transitioned into the communications department, which actually I think worked out in my favor. So I was recruited to do a business development role for an international architecture firm. So that's how I entered the business world. Grew up in that space, but through architecture and design and real estate, that's how I got to know so many of the key decision makers here in the local business community. And that's how I was asked to join the Greater Phoenix Economic Council. So really fun working in that space, love representing the region and helping to attract better businesses into the state of Arizona. And from there, went on to work in commercial real estate and landed at Fennemore about a year ago. This was the first role that I took to go and work for one person. In the past, I always represented really great brands, which, served me well, don't get me wrong. But this time I took a job based on who the leader was. He is the author of the book, or the co-author of the book, Motivating Millennials. He cares about people and culture. And that really hit home to me. So it's been a perfect opportunity to continue to expand my A-Z Biz Link platform because I have full support there and really help to make something special within Fennemore.
So as you think about, that's a great question, Tony, as you think about that journey and you think about, the plot twists within that, what advice would you give to women? Because as I listened to your bio, it's amazing. And you've been in so many spaces and places, and that was not by accident. So what advice would you give to women who, especially during this pandemic, we've had 2.2 million women leave the workforce. They are considering other things. What advice would you have as they consider maybe a different path, a different career, something they maybe hadn't imagined? What advice would you have?
So for the longest time, I was raised to think feeling uncomfortable was a bad thing. But now I believe that if you're feeling uncomfortable, that means you're growing and you're stretching. So now more than ever, I think a lot of us feel incredibly uncomfortable. There's so much uncertainty happening in this world, but at the same time, it's probably helping us to grow as professionals. So it may not look or feel exactly how we want it to, but it's helping us to get to where we want to go. So keeping our eye on the prize as far as the direction that we're heading and that we're making smart choices leading up to that, I think will certainly help. So I can't say that I had in my mind that I would be where I am today, but I'm so happy that I am.
I really appreciate that and want to talk a little bit more about being uncomfortable, because it is the case, exactly what you said. If you're not uncomfortable, you're probably not growing or stretching. So to that point, I think you know that Christine and I worked together years ago and came across really kind of the same issue a few years ago that we were experiencing 30 years ago. And that is women not actually having the opportunities to make it to the C-suite. So we decided we would write a book, so on and so forth, Women Executive Grit and Constitutional Grit. And invariably throughout all of the conversations with women, the interviews, they talked about grit being really the most important aspect of their ability to make it to the C-suite. And so we'll ask you what we asked them. Can you share with us some of your grittiest moments? Some very tough decisions, some tough challenges, whether they be personal that related to professional or professional decisions that you had to make?
Well, I think as we all know now, our personal and professional lives all kind of blend together. So I think it's all about, how that's impacted us as a human being. But I equate a lot of it for me. My grit comes from, I was raised as an athlete, right? So from that, I think I've learned to become competitively great and to stay competitive, not only with everybody else out in the business world, but also with myself. I learned that it was super important to invest in professional development. I always heard, you need to be involved because that's part of what your role is in the business community, which is true. But at the same time, I wasn't taking it seriously for the benefit of myself. So investing in yourself certainly helps, and it helps you to navigate and get through some of those really gritty moments. I've been very fortunate. I can't say I've had any catastrophic or major horrible things happen within my life, which I feel very fortunate about. However, there have been challenges. Don't get me wrong. I'll say on the personal side, I met the man of my dreams, absolutely loved him, but he has triplets that are under the age of 5. So with that, I went from having no kids and being single and being a bachelorette to being, I'm engaged now. And so I'll soon be the stepmom to 3 young children. So that was something, balancing the work, personal and professional life, and trying to be all things to all people. Time and energy management was something that I really had to focus on. And that's something I've had to overcome. And I would say another really tough decision that I've had to make a couple of times within my career is following my passion rather than following the paycheck. There have been lots of opportunities to go and take some really great high-paying positions, but they didn't align with my mission, vision, values. So as easy as it may be, and the desire, don't get me wrong, we all like to make money. That's why we go to work. But making some of those tough decisions to really stay focused and keeping things in alignment with where I want to be and what I want out of my personal and professional life, those have been some tough decisions.
So I'm going to stay along those same lines related to grit. First of all, congratulations. I didn't know you were engaged. That's awesome.
Wonderful.
That's fantastic. Congratulations. That's going to take some grit, right? So if we think about the women that are starting new businesses, entrepreneurs, we know that women entrepreneurship is on the rise. And I know that, both of us know, coming to your events, you have a lot of women entrepreneurs that come to learn. The events that you put on throughout the year are incredibly valuable. The people that are speaking are leaving tremendous value with the audience. What advice would you have for women entrepreneurs that are either coming to your events or that want to tap into the resources that you have at A-Z Biz Link?
Well, I would say my number one advice for anybody looking to become an entrepreneur or just starting off in their business is continue to ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? And usually you're probably putting more self-doubt into the situation than what's necessary. So a lot of times we talk ourselves out of it. So by showing up to our events, not only are we providing great speakers, which we've all been to a lot of organizational events where they have great speakers, but what we're often missing is, okay, so now what do I do with that information? How do I implement that and put that into an actionable item? And I think that's what really differentiates our organization is that we kind of give you the step-by-step. So yes, we present on a specific topic as it relates to workforce leadership, branding, corporate social responsibility, you name it. You find that vertical that really aligns with you and what you need help with, and we'll give you the steps that you need in order to implement it within your personal business. So that's been really fun. The power of connection, that is the one thing I encourage everybody to really focus in on in 2021. Building your network is essential to your future success. And honestly, that's what's helped me to get to where I am today. So I was notorious for kind of introducing some of the same key influential people over and over and over again. And I'm like, there must be an easier way to do this rather than sending the same email over and over again. So I created a book. It's called Resources for Growth. It's a free publication. It's listed on my website, which is azbizlink.com/resources. It features over 100 business professionals and resources that can ultimately help set you up for success. And I know you two women are two people that everybody needs to know. So I'm hopeful that we'll get you in on the 2021 edition. That's where I really feel like we can help a lot of entrepreneurs. Now you don't have to go in person. So you don't have that intimidation factor of entering in a room full of people you don't know. Join us for one of our virtual events. You'll get some great information, some actionable items, and you'll have contact information for those resources that can help you.
That's really, really helpful. And it reminds me of the fact that Chris and I just finished it was a month-long workshop where we led a corporate work group from all over the world. So it was Plus Alliance through Arizona State University. And the Plus Alliance has, we connect with a university in North-South Wales and one in London. And so our job was to facilitate the conversation of what would transform women leaders and the opportunities and ultimately improve the outcomes, the numbers of women in the C-suite. What can we do? And invariably, what kept coming up, someone said, entrepreneurship. Number one, we need to create our own companies and be our own boss, our own CEO. But it also led to a conversation around the entrepreneurial mindset. right? And Chief Business Development and Marketing Officer, give us an idea of your mindset and how you think, because obviously, Fennemore Craig is one of the top 250 law firms in the country, one of the largest. And it's no easy task or feat to be the Chief Business Development Officer and do what you're doing for A-Z Biz Link. How do we get more entrepreneurial thinking amongst women? Even if you're not starting your business, it is said to be one of the number one skills when getting to or leaping to the C-suite.
So my mind automatically goes to branding because my background is marketing and business development. So yes, organizations have a brand, but leaders have a brand too. And so if you're not proactively putting your brand out there and telling people what it is, other people will write that narrative. And it's probably not going to be accurate or what you want it to be. So number one, focus in on the brand and how you're projecting yourself out there in the business community, on your LinkedIn profile, but then also within your organization. How are you becoming known as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as a progressive, thought-provoking individual? I think that is probably the number one spot where I would start. And a lot of people don't know, they do so much great stuff, but they never tell anybody about it because they hate to brag. And it's not really bragging. It's just further communicating your skills and how you can really help transform organizations. So I do think being entrepreneurial, thinking through how to innovate and problem solve will always help you to progress within your professional career. Just look at everything that you're working on. Could it be done differently or better? And by providing those opportunities with solutions, so not just raising problems, but also coming to the table with some solutions, I think people will notice you. And if you do that on a consistent basis, I think it's just a matter of time until, you rise to a leadership role within an organization.
The branding yourself is so key. We had Deborah Bateman on our podcast last week or a couple of weeks ago, and she spent a lot of time talking about that. She left our audience with the top 5 things that she would propose, and branding was number 1. So absolutely, it's so important. And I think you're right. Women especially have a really difficult time tooting their own horn, letting people know what they've done. And so great advice. Can you talk a little bit, we'll stay in the entrepreneurship sector. Can you talk a little bit about Fennemore's Venture Accelerator program?
Yeah, oftentimes people have these great ideas about these businesses, but they don't necessarily have the funding or the backing to launch it. So we do have a Venture Accelerator program where we utilize our legal team. Oftentimes we'll front all of those legal costs, making sure that you're setting your business up right. And then also helping them with securing some additional funding with growing their business. So it's a tremendous platform. A lot of people don't know about it. And honestly, I didn't know about it until I joined at Fennemore. But it's our way of giving back to the business community and helping entrepreneurs to thrive. Oftentimes we talk ourselves out of starting or launching that business because we don't have the money or the capital, but I'd rather not those great ideas to fall by the wayside. I'd rather try and figure out a way to make them happen. So we're happy to be a resource. Even if we can't help business leaders or entrepreneurs with that, I'm sure we know somebody in the business community that can. So feel free to reach out if I can ever be a resource.
Oh, that's fantastic. I didn't realize that. I will probably give you a call. So I think this will be my final question. And that is, as you think about, Lindsay, what you played as a child, like the games you played, what was important to you, where you are today, does that align at all? But most importantly, what are the next steps for you? We know you're going to be a mom, which is fantastic. But we know that based on your gifting, you have a lot more to do. And so what does that look like? And how does it tie back to what your original thinking was?
I love these questions. I'm going to borrow these ones for sure for my podcast. So as far as the games that I would play when I was a child, I think what little girl doesn't like to, make believe and play pretend that we're either, playing house or princesses or whatever it is. But we always wanted to try and be like somebody else. And, I think what I learned from that is the importance of finding role models within your life and people that you aspire to be a little bit more like. And for the longest time, I kind of thought, oh, you need to find one role model that embodies everything that you want to be. Well, I think I've realized now that you can actually have multiple different role models and envy them for different elements. So I have role models for my personal life and I have role models for my professional life, but finding different elements about people, what you admire about them, can help you find more clarity around what you're reaching for yourself. So as far as what it looks like for me moving forward, I love this question. You know, I've always been a goal-oriented individual. I've had that 5-year plan and exceeded them. But I think for the longest time, you know, they were based on, job titles or promotions or how much income I had, but they weren't really focused in on like the feeling or the emotion that I had. I want to try and be the happiest, the healthiest, the most balanced person that I can. So that's a big priority of mine moving forward. But I want to continue to push myself. I want to continue to feel uncomfortable and say yes to as many opportunities as I can actually invest the time into, because I have to be smart about that. The one thing is I used to be the yes person and would say yes to everything, but I couldn't be all in and do as much as I wanted to. So now I'm being a little bit smarter and more strategic and making sure it's in alignment with my overall goals. But yeah, I mean, for what I'm doing here in the state of Arizona, I've already started expanding that into the Nevada market. I'm hopeful that we'll continue to grow regionally and or nationally, because I think the problems that we're helping to solve here in Arizona are ones that we can help on a national and maybe international basis.
Fantastic.
Lindsay, thank you so much for being here today. You've left our audience with $1 million nuggets that they can use today after hearing you. Could you share a little bit about where they can find you besides A-Z Biz Link? How can they connect with you and your book and your resources?
So A-Z or A to Z. Originally, we were A-Z just because we were in Arizona, but now we're A to Z because we're helping with from everything from A to Z in all different markets. So our website is azbizlink.com. On there is our resource guide and a number of different contacts and our board members. Our board members are tremendous resources out there in the business community. So I would look to leverage and connect with them on LinkedIn. I'm on all social platforms. I have a YouTube channel for some of our recorded content, which I think now more than ever, we love and appreciate recorded content. So that's a great way. My email address, if you're looking into our Venture Accelerator program, it's lmoellenberndt@fennemorelaw.com. Hopefully we can provide some links to the spelling of my name because I know I have the longest one. But feel free to reach out on social media. I'm always happy to be a resource. And my other small little plug based on our conversation today is in 2021, as I had mentioned, that we are hosting our diversity, equity, and inclusion sessions. I am so excited to invite the two of you to participate and to be featured speakers in that, because I think together we're going to be able to accomplish some really awesome stuff next year.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We're so glad you're here, and congratulations again.
Yay. Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you for listening. You can find more information and connect with Christine or Tony at www.tffei.org or on LinkedIn at the Foundation for Female Equity and Inclusion.